this is one of the maps you're going to see quite a bit this year. The 34 Senate races up this November. They are shaded red or blue to mark which party holds them at the moment. Now, it's a good map for the Democrats in one way. All 14 of these blue Senate seats up this year, Democratic-held Senate seats up this year, are in states carried by Joe Biden. So Democrats are not defending in any states won by Donald Trump. But it's a tough map for Democrats if you apply the Tester test. Now, what is that? Montana Senator Jon Tester draws a line roughly here and roughly here, and he sees trouble.
I honestly don't think the Democratic Party can be a majority party unless we start appealing to Middle America a lot more. I'm talking about the area between the two mountain ranges, the Appalachians and the Rocky Mountains. And if we're able to do that, I think it will provide success.
That, Senator Tester, from a recent Axe Files conversation with David Axelrod, who joins us now. And Axe, that conversation sent me down memory lane back to when I started covering politics. I'm going to go back even a little bit before that. But if you look at the 2022 map right now, yes, the Democrats don't have to defend any Trump states. But look at the Republican states in the middle of the country, right? Republicans in those Senate races. Hardly any of those Republicans are worried in this midterm election year because this is so solid. I just want to go back in time. This is 1982. Ronald Reagan is president, right? Let's put the Tester lines back up. Rough drawing along the Appalachians, along the Rockies out here. There's a lot more blue out here. There's a lot more blue. You had Lloyd Bentsen reelected. You had Quentin Burdick in North Dakota. You had Jim Sasser in Tennessee. John Stennis, the last time a Democrat won in Mississippi was back in this 1982 election. We live now in a very different America. That's the senator's point, right? And he says Democrats just don't play in here anymore.
Yeah, we're really polarized. I'd go back just to 2008 when Barack Obama ran for president, and remember there were still significant numbers of Democrats from rural states in the Senate at that time, and we've become more and more polarized. Part of it, John, is that you've seen a population drift to metropolitan areas, some Democrat-oriented voters moving to those areas. And as that has happened, you know, Democrats have become a more sort of metropolitan-centric party in its rhetoric and its language. And yeah, I mean, in national campaigns, a lot of these states are written off by Democrats, but that's a dangerous game, and there are implications to that. I'd just make one other point about this. You know, in the Senate, we have a 50-50 Senate. Democrats represent 41 million more Americans than Republicans because these small rural states don't have large populations, but they have large influence in the Senate. That's the way the system is set up. So you write these states off in presidential elections and in statewide Senate elections to your detriment.
So let's do a then and now, or now and then again. If you look at the 2022 governor's races, critical races this year, and again, 16 Democratic held seats, 20 Republican seats held up, and if you put the Tester lines up again, you know, some are roughly out here for the Appalachians, roughly out here for the Rockies. Again, you see some blue, especially in the upper Midwestern states. Democrats have been able to maintain some success up there, but there's a lot of red in the middle, especially, again, if you go back in time. You look at 1982, and you go back, and again, to put the Tester lines up just to help with the conversation, if you do it something like this, there's a blue. You've heard this is from your conversation. This is why he says a lot of blue then, a lot of red now.
The National Democratic ran in I think in rural, because quite frankly we don't show up. I'm talking about national Democrats. We're not willing to go places we're not wanted and answer questions.
Is that what it is? The President of the United States, other Democrats need to start showing up more in Montana, showing up more in Idaho, showing up more in places where they're losing, or is it showing up and taking questions, or is it the policies?
Look, I think it's a combination of both. In 2008, you know, Barack Obama had the advantage of having to run a 50-state campaign to win the nomination against Hillary Clinton. And so he competed hard in the primaries and caucuses in a lot of these rural states, and he developed organizations, and he showed up, and he had relationships, and that mattered. But I'll tell you something else about that campaign, and almost every winning national Democratic campaign, we focus very much on economic issues and on the kind of concerns that people shared broadly in this country. We steered away from cultural issues that are by definition divisive. And there are internal pressures within the Democratic Party to do something else right now. And I think that makes it harder for Democrats in states like Montana, for example. And I understand Senator Tester, who's an incredibly good and a politician, and I mean that in the best sense of the word. He's up in 2024, and Donald Trump carried that state by 16 points in 2020. He's going to have to think long and hard, Senator Tester, as to whether he can withstand that tide in a presidential year. So, you know, he may be one of the last standing rural senators who wears a Democratic label, and he may not be around after 2024.
That's how I read that conversation. He's looking for some help. He's looking for the cavalry to come in and help him in these states out here because he knows what's just ahead for him. Max, appreciate your perspective all the time, especially when I get
Great to see you, John.
walk back down memory lane. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Next, President.